In the movie The Help, which was nominated in 2011 for Best Picture, 12 African-American maids serve well-to-do white families in Jackson, Mississippi during the 1960s. Part of the responsibility of the maids is to care for the children of the white families as their parents are busy about other matters. In the movie, one of the maids, Abilene, cares for a little girl named May Mobley. May Mobley's mother was disappointed in her daughter because she was not particularly pretty and in some ways seemed slow. As a result, the mother often ignored her daughter. To compensate for this, Abilene begins telling the little girl every morning a familiar mantra. You is kind, you is smart, you is important. Each day, the little girl hears those lines, and over time, they sink in. When the little girl begins to speak, she repeats them back to Abilene. I is kind, I is smart, I is important. Then she says, and you, Abby, are my real mother. Mothers give life, but real mothers give more than just physical life. They impart to their children the awareness of their own value and worth. They do this through affirmation. A story from my own life. Back in the 1950s and 60s, when I was a child and teenager, much like today, boys, to prove their maleness, were expected to play sports. I played the piano. I know it is hard to believe when you look at me today, but as a child, I was a scrawny, anemic kid who had to go for shots of iron periodically. And I was afraid to play sports because I didn't want to get killed. Plus, in the neighborhood, I would always get picked last to be on a baseball team. I couldn't hit the ball even if it were the size of a watermelon coming at me. But my mother showed me another way to be involved in sports. She encouraged me to ask my high school's athletic director if there was anything I could do to be involved in athletics. I worked for the athletic director at my high school, lining the football field and running the scoreboard for football games. I kept the scorebook for the basketball team. I assisted the athletic director in scheduling referees and helped set up for tennis tournaments. So in the end, guess what? I earned a coveted letter sweater just like the jocks. This kind of encouragement and affirmation my mother gave me is, in a sense, the highest kind of love, because it enabled me to grow to my potential, to become the person that I was meant to be. This kind of love has a divine dimension. All of us are here because of the love of God that instills in each one of us a worth and an importance. So every time that we affirm another person and lift them up by our love, we are reflecting the very love of God that called us into being. This is why John, in today's second reading, says, "Let us love one another, for love is of God. Everyone who loves is begotten by God and knows God, because God is love." The greatest contribution that a mother or father can make is to so affirm and love their child so that the child grows in an awareness of who they are. In doing this, the parent reflects the creative love of God. Now, I am very aware that there might be some people here today who feel themselves crippled in life because they were not loved as they should have been by a parent. They were not affirmed into the fullness of their personhood. If that is your circumstance, I would ask, has not God placed in your life someone else who affirms you, someone else that calls you into being, someone else who, like Abby was for May Mobley, is for you a real mother or father? On this Mother's Day, in light of today's readings, all of us are called to remember who the people were in our life who affirmed us and called us into being. We should be thankful for them, whether they be our natural mothers or fathers, or some special person that God has placed in our life. Today is a day to be thankful for the way that they affirmed us and called us to recognize our own talents and ability. If those persons are still alive, today would be a good day to tell them personally of our gratitude. Today is also a day for us to recommit ourselves to affirm others. We should dedicate ourselves to affirm our children, our grandchildren, our friends, and our co-workers. Each time we do that, we impart life and reflect God's ever-present creative love. Paul Bear Bryant, the famous Alabama football coach, once said, "You know, I'm not much more than a plowhand from Arkansas, but over my life I have learned how to form a football team and to motivate them to win. You do it by affirmation. I say 3 things. When things go badly, I say, I did it. When things go somewhat well, I say, we did it. And when things are a remarkable success, I say, you did it." To say those 3 things are all you need to get a football team to win games for you. Now, of course, Coach Bryant isn't completely correct. It takes more than affirmation to win a football game. You also need skill and practice. But affirmation should not be undervalued, and the same is true in life. Today, we should be thankful for those in our life who affirmed us and called us into being. Of course, just because we have been affirmed does not mean that everything in our life will run smoothly. But if we are never affirmed, it is clear that not much in our life will run well at all. So on this Mother's Day, let us thank God for all the women in our lives who have affirmed, loved, and nourished us to be the best we can be. Happy Mother's Day.